what he taught me that day was, you don't need to go out of your way with prayers and with ceremonies. Painting and music are ceremony and celebration of life enough.
There was always some element in Ray's work of how it came to be, how the landscape came to be. It's very much sort of cognizant of the structure, the rudimentary base elements of rock and dirt and sand and stone and plant and grass and tree. Those were, in their ascending or descending order, were the things that Ray Strong paid attention to.
20th century American landscape painter Ray Strong was born into the soil of northwestern Oregon, where he worked on a family farm and grew to appreciate the formative processes of nature. His spare time was spent drawing and painting outdoors, in plein air, whatever the weather. After an academic indoctrination at back east art schools, he found himself and his métier in the Bay Area, painting. Co-founding the Art Students League, and working on WPA murals. In the early 60s, he was invited to Santa Barbara to paint background dioramas for the Natural History Museum. And stayed for the rest of his life, continuing to paint California landscapes.
Ray Strong has a remarkable place in Santa Barbara history. Most people might be familiar with his murals, the dioramas at the Natural History Museum. They're a remarkable legacy, and I think a great tribute to Ray, his love of nature and his love of the landscape of this area. Also, it was Ray, along with Arturo Teo, that really began the oak group that Santa Barbara has become quite well known for. And that we have such a rich tradition of artists here in our area that are dedicated to plein air painting, and especially with the idea of drawing attention to the beautiful open spaces and the landscape of this area, with the idea of to preserve those open spaces for the future. loved this area. I know he spent some time in his early years in the 30s, certainly in the area of the Bay Area. He did some remarkable murals while he was there. But he was drawn to this area and loved painting the landscapes here, and I don't know that he missed all the cold weather all that much, but he particularly liked the rich the landscape, the hills, and the variety that we have here in Santa Barbara. Not to mention, I'd like to add the weather that makes it pretty fabulous for painting a good deal of the year.
His personality was so big, it flowed over all of us and injected into all of us some of his zest and sort of purpose in life. When Ray looked at you and fixed those eyes on you and said, "What are you doing?" you knew you better come up with an answer, and he meant it. What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? What are you making? What are you creating? What are you pushing? What is the reason for you to be on this planet? You better be able to define it if you're going to talk to Ray Strong. Those were great moments with Ray and I. I'm sad that he's gone, but I'm very happy that I met him. And I don't know that there was a single human being that I've ever met that met Ray Strong whose life was not made more rich for having met him.
Ray walked into the studio, took one look at that painting, and Ray looked at that painting and said, "By God, that makes me want to grab a red head and a bottle of wine."